Everybody. We like to put on interesting lectures here that are fun and educational and inspiring, and we particularly like empowering people. So I'm Reverend Tanny Wildflower, and the spiritual director of the center, and so I have a background in muscle testing because I did a holistic health educator thing back in my earlier lifetimes, and learned muscle testing, and I've used it a lot, and it works really, really well, and it's a lovely technique. She made it! Hooray! Come on in, darling. So when I met John, and knew that he knows muscle testing and actually learned from an expert, which he'll tell you more, which is Dr. Vaught and Ukiah, and elsewhere, wherever else you've learned all that you know, I just thought, whoa, I wonder if he'd be willing to come and teach us the basics of this skill, because it's really an amazing skill. So we do have a donation pot here. If you'd like to throw some donation in there, we will accept it, because that's what we do. That's part of how we keep the doors open. And with that, I'm done here. So you can go ahead and take it away.
We say welcome and thank you.
Yeah.
Let me just start by saying welcome to you all. I really appreciate you all coming. Muscle testing, or what can be also understood to be applied kinesiology, or at least muscle testing for universal truth, is very important within my life. It's something that I use all the time. And so thank you for honoring me and coming. My name is John C. Worthington. I'm a registered nurse of about 30 years, and a working registered nurse. I've also been very holistic minded within my own personality. And finding muscle testing was very important within my life. I've been muscle testing now for about 15 years. I've only muscle tested for 4 years. My name's Fred. My name's John. I do what's called single-person muscle testing, although this class is a class in two-person muscle testing. And within muscle testing, what you're really doing is measuring the physical event of your muscle strength or weakness. Generally, one-person muscle testing, you put your arm out and you press down with your fingers at the right time, and your arm either stays strong to the truth and the health of that statement, the maintaining aspect of that statement, maintaining life, or it goes weak in a little bit or more. You'll see me do possibly some single-person muscle testing, which is the same thing. I got one arm and another arm, and I'm just pressing against that. I'll talk a little bit more about single-person muscle testing in just a little bit. Although again, you would want to always learn with two-person muscle testing, just because otherwise you can throw yourself off.
Can I interrupt just a minute?
Yeah.
Janet and Michael, did y'all want to pull up into the?
Are you all right there? Are you guys comfy?
I can hear. Okay.
I was
What
thinking
about
of
you?
just moving him over there, that way everybody's
He's
facing.
filming.
He's filming.
Huh?
He's filming.
That's right, we can't do that.
But you could move.
Yeah. Move this?
Yeah. Why not?
Okay.
Is that what you want? Because there's no.
What's
No, I want
It's
your
not
seat.
really a discussion.
No, I want your seat.
But they just do that.
No, I
You got it particularly was left out.
Whoa.
You may have got you.
All right.
You may have.
We almost got you.
It's good enough. It does a very wide screen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I have to go actually.
Okay.
Thank you for.
You're welcome.
Than's for coming.
Where should I put
We
this?
wish you could stay.
I wish I could too. This seems
It would
interesting.
be fun,
Mouth,
it was,
that's
you would
important.
enjoy it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
It's easy to learn, and you can learn from someone else.
That's what I wondered.
Thank you.
So I am teaching this class at a spiritual center, so instead of going for more of the scientific aspects, I'm going for the scientific aspect, but I'm also going to include what I understand within my own spiritual beliefs and faiths. If you have any questions or such, I'd ask that you wait until later, unless I start talking too fast. If I start talking too fast, you can ask me to slow
You
down.
do talk kind of fast.
I do.
I'm gonna slow you down now.
Thank you, I appreciate it. No, I will take the feedback. So this is a class on the science of holding God's hand in return. I am very serious about that. It's a class about holding in return the key to discovering the hidden variables and the unknown truths of the mysteries of our universe. It's holding the all of life itself's hand in return. This is a life lesson in accurately measuring universal human truth. and I'm very serious about this. There is a lot of question, especially these days, about what is truth and what is not. And I think that we can find it within actually humanity and within muscle testing or the physical events that anyone can measure in a repeatable way. And that's where it really comes to me. For myself and my physics, I am happy to change any of my physics. You know, if there's new science that comes out, this is the best I've learned so far, and this is what I'm sharing. Peace on Earth this year, or soon enough, is seriously measurable, to have already begun, and it is muscle testing, or the science of muscle testing universal truth that can bring peace on Earth this year, or soon enough. United we stand can become a part of all of humanity only if we have a constant to stand behind. And within the illusions and the falsehoods, there is no constant. It can be anything. But within absolute universal truth that any human being can measure to be strength or weakness for the stuff that isn't strengthening, because there's both in life, we can get to that place of being united we stand in that universal constant. I believe muscle testing is the perfect measuring device and measuring tool for humanity to begin to start to use. And it's a very underutilized tool at this point. I'm going to try to stop saying so many ums.
Family, just enjoy.
Within our modern state of humanity, again within these times right now, certainly within the United States of America, but within the whole world, having something where everyone can align within truth, I think is vital, not only for our, perhaps for our survival, but certainly for our posterity and for our greatest health and finding what we really want within life. Holding the ultimate knowledge and wisdom within your own human being and your hand. Getting closer to what has been called nature, what has been called God, or by whatever name or concept that you have for what has truly been understood within humanity to be that which has been called God. The meek will inherit the earth. The meek will inherit the earth because of the meek inherent nature of muscle testing and holding God's hand in return. Within the fact that everyone could measure something, as long as they get themselves in that objective state of balance, into a scientific state of objective, only seeking truth, we can all measure, again, that constant, which can bring us into that united we stand, which can be the meek inheriting the earth. Understood historically, what has been understood historically to be the divine or heavenly guidance is, and that the greatest good is what I understand muscle testing guides us all to, and now can be accurately measured. Again, this is holding the all of life itself's hand in return. This is holding the key to unlocking the hidden variables or the mysteries of our universe. This is holding nature's guiding hand in return. This is holding God Almighty's hand in return by whatever true concept or name that you hold for what has been called in history to be God Almighty. That is what I honestly believe, and that is what I honestly believe at this end of this class you would be able to measure for yourself, or at least have the potential to measure for yourself, as long as you have permission and can get yourself in that state where you can measure that. Muscle testing is the understanding that children that are honestly loved and nurtured, they grow up stronger and healthier. And children that are dishonestly loved or dishonestly nurtured, not loved, not really nurtured, given bad food or bad whatever throughout their life, they're not going to grow up as strong and healthy as a kid that is given that truth of love and nature. So that truth is vital within humanity. It is what the muscle test measures, is that truth of whether something is maintaining to ourselves or non-maintaining to ourselves, is what I understand. Muscle testing is a common sense understanding that something that is healthy and strengthening to you is healthy and strengthening to you. And things that are weakening and unhealthy to you, they're weakening and unhealthy. And so they do measure, as long as you can get yourself in that objective state, they can measure that health and strength to your muscles.
What do you mean by objective state?
Objective state, being using the scientific method, you want to reach that point where you're in a state of balance and center, where all you're seeking is truth, where you don't want, you disallow or you quiet your personal prejudices or your rigid thinking or other want that you have, where you're only seeking that truth. For myself, the reason that I believe that I found what I have within my physics is because that's all I sought. I just really cared about finding truth, and I didn't care about finding anything else. And I'm not positive I got it all right, but I love feedback. But so far I measure that what I have is the closest that we got right now. And that's a lot to say, so I'll just let you
And
decide.
John, and I could also say that the word neutral is another good word
Yeah.
with the objective, is that since you're measuring energy,
Yes.
if you keep your energy neutral, you keep your thoughts neutral, you keep yourself objective, that's the word he's using, then you're certain to be measuring the thing that you're asking, not random thoughts that are going on in your brain. So it is actually important to keep your mind in a neutral place.
It's actually
if you
very,
will.
very vital. In fact, that's the reason I believe that why muscle testing hasn't been as accepted as it could be, is because we all have illusions within ourselves. We all have want, we all have desires, and if we're not in an objective state, then we're gonna measure off. And so there's people that are gonna measure off, especially if they don't believe in muscle testing. Then you can measure off just because of that. This is a class on two-person muscle testing. I've already mentioned, again, I do one-person muscle testing. For myself, I did about 15 years, or I did, excuse me, about 10 years of muscle testing where I worked with the applied kinesiologist, Dr. Lee Vaught over in Ukiah. He's the closest person to a true healer that I have ever met as a holistic-minded registered nurse of 30 years. And there's just many times where I've had personal upset of mental states, of physical states, where I had a back problem that was hurting me for 10 years. He got rid of that by muscle testing it. That was a milk allergy. There's other times when I've had concerns and I've been really upset at work or about a work problem, and I'll be out on my kayak surfing, and I'll still be thinking about that a week later. I'll still be out there not thinking about my ways. Instead, I'll be thinking about this work upset. I go see my Dr. Vaught, and he, in 15 minutes, he has me measured. He has me try to imagine myself being in that work situation and being healthy and strong, and I measure weak. And within his methods, he's found a way to get rid of those issues per se, those mental, emotional, spiritual issues, and then get yourself back in that state of balance. So after doing this muscle testing and having real life experiences where I could not explain why my muscle went strong or weak, except for at the end of it I was healthier and I felt better. And sometimes I could understand why it did, but it wasn't something that I was trying to do, but it just happened to me. I learned to master that muscle testing with two-person. I then went on to muscle testing, trying single-person muscle testing. Again, I do an opposing finger. I've seen people that do a thing where they pinch their fingers, they squeeze their fingers like this. Tanya talked about moving your arm down. Dr. Vaught has his own method, and there's, I'm sure, other methods too. When I was learning single-person muscle testing, I did 3 months of only doing the questions. My name's John, and my name's Fred. Those are calibration check questions because they're just, I know the absolute truth of them. I've never been called Fred, or I've never used that name, and so I go, my name's John, my name's Fred. And I did that for 3 months. There was one time when I looked at a cabinet that was black, and I said, that cabinet's black, and then I saw a gray mark on it, and I said, but then is gray, and and I had to make this long statement, and I got it to be a true statement. I got to measure truth, and then I went back to just the question of my name's John and my name's Fred to make sure that I really learned it. So if you do switch over to single-person muscle testing, I really recommend you only use your calibration check statements, declared statements of fact, to learn for at least a month or maybe 3 would be my recommendation.
So part of what when I translate him saying is that what you're doing is you're programming yourself as to what is yes, what is strong, and what is weak, and so you're getting yourself to give yourself the same consistent answer every time of what is truth, what is not.
Exactly.
So that your body gets programmed.
I would take comfort at the term program.
Yeah,
Because that means you're
yeah.
setting it up.
Programming
I
does.
say calibrate maybe.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So
calibrate.
programming
Aligning.
would be. I had a little bit of red flag up with that one too.
Yeah, me too, aligning.
But what you're doing, for me, it was just teaching myself that this is my strong finger. This other finger is trying to push down on it, just like one arm's trying to push down on my arm. And all I'm trying to do is just feel whether this one is really truth or not, whether it really can hold the truth within it. And again, learning by two-person first is what I recommend. What muscle testing has done for me also is it's guided me to my intuitions. We all have intuitions, and some are good and some are bad. And the reality is if you can have an intuition and then you can muscle test it, and then you can go and live your life and see whether it works out the way you thought, it kind of just helps to guide you to when that was a really good intuition, because you can measure it in the muscle testing and then say, okay, that one measures the strength, now let me try living it out. But it's always in the living it out. You don't ever want to go with just the muscle test. You want to live your life out and see what is really truth within your life. The basic principles of muscle testing is that you want to seek only absolute universal truth. That's all you want to do. You want to just keep yourself in that neutral state, that objective state where all you're seeking is absolute universal human truth. You also need to know your own areas of rigid thinking, your areas of want, your possible areas of illusion, so you can focus on those to quiet those. That's very important too. You need to be able to learn to focus and balance yourself into that objective or neutral state, where again, you're only seeking that truth. And then you need to also learn to choose exactly the way you want to word something, and then state it in an exact declared statement of fact. So within that, you want to say what you mean and mean what you say when you're muscle testing. And that can help you in life to say what you say. You say what you mean and mean what you say. You also want to always double check your answer. You don't ever want to just do one check. You don't want to just feel the muscle strength. You want to feel the weakness by checking an opposite question too. And that way you get into that again, that scientific method of verifying that what is true and what is not. The exactly defined, with the right exactly defined declared statement of fact, and with measured maintaining self all in alignment, and with conscious intention to seek only universal truth, muscle testing can accurately measure the universal human truth of what is the best for self and for all. For myself, I had a sublux vertebrae that I had for about 15 years. I was told I had to have surgery to get it repaired. I measured that if I held my head like this and kind of like that, when I coughed, it would help it, and I got it to unsublux.
Wow.
I've had a starter motor that went out of my car, and I diagnosed that on the side of the road before I went on. I found a friend at a big fair by measuring just which way I should turn and go. I've found the way to go home with the least traffic. I've measured when to call people or not to call people, or to talk to someone or not to talk to person, and what to say and what not to say, by all using muscle testing. I've also had many healings through my working with Dr. Vaught, where again I've gotten rid of back pains and neck pains and shoulder injuries and all kinds of injuries that we get rid of the physical part, we get rid of the nutritional or the allergy part, and then then there'd still be this weakness, and I'd get rid of the mental, emotional, spiritual part, and then you can live your life much more fully. I believe the reason why I was able to write my book, which is about muscle testing and aquarium physics, was because I got myself into a place of greater truth and got rid of some of those illusions, those distractions that are within life. What I understand illusions to be within life is basically kind of like the sub-program that's going on in your system, and so it's always wasting your energy because it's always taking your time to think about this or to focus on this or to be worried about that. And if you can get rid of those illusions, then you have that much more time to be productive within your life. I did write my book in a year and a half while working on average of 70 hours a week and sleeping probably about 5 hours a day on most times. So I've only been able to, I believe, be at the productivity level that I can through muscle testing and through getting rid of those sub-programs, getting rid of those illusions, which I believe muscle testing, there's lots of times when we're confused about what is truth with our life. And if you can measure that, oh, what I'm thinking now is weakness, then you can know that at least you don't got to focus on that anymore. You want to focus away from that or get away from it. So it can be a very uplifting and strengthening thing. Muscle testing, again, I mentioned the maintaining self nature of our universe and the non-maintaining self nature of our universe. What muscle tests is muscle strength, is what I understand to be what is maintaining to yourself and the all of life itself. What is measures as being weakness is non-maintaining to life itself and yourself. it's the all, for me, it's the all of what maintains life itself, and it's the everything of what non-maintains life itself, at least as far as the way that I speak it and note it, just for my own simplicity of using words that don't have too much allusion or past historic confusions or, again, illusion within them. The meek will inherit the earth through muscle testing. Accurately, muscle testing measures both the physical and the conscious aspects of our being. We know that as human beings, if we take in a substance that's poison or such, it's going to make us more weak. And the same is true if you hear, if you're lied to, if you have a lot of worry going on, a lot of upset, concern, if you're fearful of something, you may not be as strong or may not be able to make as good a choice. And so you got to recognize that the conscious part is the real part of us, and it is for me, it's a real physical part of us that at least affects our bodies, and we can measure it in a physical way with muscle testing and otherwise throughout your life. I know probably everyone's been at times down because someone told something, or they heard some story or something's going on. And again, that's the consciousness. Sure, you heard it and you were spoken to it, is also that consciousness working within you. Quantum physics, muscle testing, my understanding of what muscle testing is basically an example of what quantum physics talks about entanglement. Within quantum physics, there's entanglement of all particles, of all, really of everything. And it's also what's called the observer effect within quantum physics. The observer effect is just a scientific phenomenon that we know in all science. There's a scientist that really is trying to skew this test to try to prove one certain point, then the measurement might not go as accurate. Whereas if they're really focused on just trying to find the truth, then they aren't kind of skewed as much. Within quantum physics, what they found was in a particle slit experiment, a two-slit experiment, if they consciously, their intention was to look at that particle as it went through the two slits, and they set up the experiment that way. The understanding is the conscious intention of looking at that particle, that photon, as it goes through the two slits, it would change it into a particle. If you weren't looking at it, then it becomes a wave. And it's just, all we have to do is our conscious intention that focuses on that. Bell's theorem mathematically speaks to that. And there's many other aspects of human life. Random access generators are machines that produce random numbers, and during times of trouble or trauma in humanity, they get less random. Before the earthquake in Japan, apparently a half an hour before that, the random access generators got less random. Before the 9/11 attack, 2 hours before that, they got less random because of the whatever consciousness. We know that animals, they can react to earthquakes before they happen. Dogs are shown to be able to start to get happy not when the person leaves to go home from work to come home to the dog, but when the person first thinks about them going home to go to the dog, that's when the dog first will react and start getting happy without excited about seeing them. So again, it's that thought. It's proven in many different ways. Remote viewing is something that CIA has used to look into different areas or different people in the world. For myself, during college, I did a remote viewing experiment modeled after Target and Pridoff, which were two parapsychologists from Stanford. And the results of it were for me, there's no way I could explain it other than we had some conscious connection between us. One of my friends was able to draw this plaque and this rock and then the sidewalk all around it. And another time, when I was out on this catwalk, he drew this really long thing and thought he was in a cold aisle area because it was windy and cold out there. And within that, I just said he thought he was in a cold aisle area. Within remote viewing, what they find is that what you see will be often true, but when you try to interpret it, when you try to decide what it is, then you'll make the mistake. And so again, that's when our illusion can get in there and can trick us a little. There's also called the 100th monkey phenomena, which is a phenomena whereby apparently monkeys on one island that was all isolated from no other monkeys were sharing between another island, and they found a new way to get their food. And so they started using this new way to get the food, and then they taught it to another monkey and then another monkey. And about the time it got to the 100th monkey, another island, some 100 miles away or so, the monkeys started doing the same thing. And there's phenomena about this 100th monkey phenomena. There's other things where, and I don't remember the exact example, but there's, anyway, I won't go into it, but there was an example of something that, a physical substance, I can't remember it was some liquid that would get solidified, and once one liquid started getting solidified, and then others started getting solidified, and now everything gets solidified apparently. And so I'm not exactly sure, some of this is a little bit weird. I know that, I'm not sure if you know about, and I don't remember his name, I'm sorry, I don't know that right off, I didn't write it down, but the person that does the ice crystals, he focus some energy Emoto, yeah, you focus your energy on the water and then you freeze the ice and it turns into a beautiful crystal. If you're focusing on something positive, if you're focusing on negative, and I'm talking fast, then it goes into something that's not so beautiful, it's kind of disformed and such. And so there's many examples in life where conscious entanglement exists, and it lives like a mother and a son, or a mother and a child, two spouses together. There's probably times when you thought about calling a friend all of a sudden, and the next thing you know, the friend is on the phone and they're calling you. And I believe that all is that conscious entanglement.
And John, we have some videos here from Noetic Sciences, from the IONS group,
Great.
where they talk in great detail about studying these very things that you're looking at.
Yeah.
And from a very rigorous science point of view, many of the things that you were mentioning are some of what we have on our DVDs here.
Great, yeah, and I do recommend you
donated them.
look at it to yourself if you have any questions about it, because it really is serious science that's behind this stuff.
Noetic Sciences are fabulous.
Yeah.
The IONS group.
There you go, they are great. We are in one universe all, and we are all connected within that one universe. The history of muscle testing starts with applied kinesiology. Dr. George Goodhart started the International College of Applied Kinesiology back in 1975. He found that muscle testing, what was strengthening, was strengthening, what was weakening, and it was something that could be repeated in a scientific method. Dr. John Diamond in '79 wrote his book, Your Body Doesn't Lie, which is about behavioral kinesiology, and with what he found was, I think George Goodhart was more into just the physical stuff. If you take something that you're allergic to, then you're going to go weak. If you take something that's healthy for you, you're going to stay strong. What Diamond found out was that words and conscious thoughts could also make you go weak. So if certain words or certain images could make people universally test weak, and other images or words could make you test strong. And it doesn't matter really what your personal beliefs are. If you can get yourself into a state of strength and objective, neutral measurement, then you'll still measure the truth of that. They did experiments with persons that were apparently white supremacists and given pictures of Martin Luther King and Hitler, and they went strong for King and weak for Hitler. And other examples of the same similar thing, where I understand that people, despite their own personal views, even though they may have hated King and loved Hitler, they will still measure, if they can get themselves in that objective state, you can still measure that universal truth and be guided by it. Dr. David Hawkins wrote the book Power versus Force, which within that he graphed our human consciousness, and he also graphed where truth begins. And where truth begins is where your muscles stay strong. And anything that's not truth, you're going to go weakness for that, as long as you're measuring accurately. Myself, I wrote the book Aquarian Physics, and I did that in 2012. Hawkins was 1995, 2012, and within that, the reason I wrote my book was just to try to describe why Dr. Thought's methods worked so well and why muscle testing worked. And within that, it got me into quantum physics, just because there was a statement about the muscle testing being the weakness event being a non-event. Within quantum physics, there's a collapse of the wave function of possibility. And so what this is when the wave function of possibility collapses, is everything could happen, it could happen, it could happen, and then at the one moment when it happens, it all collapses down into one certain thing. And what it was said, actually by Hawkins, was that was the muscle strength event, and then the muscle weakness event was then a non-collapse of wave function, which means the weakness doesn't matter, it doesn't happen. But we know within humanity, or I knew within myself, and I could feel within my measurements with Dr. Vaught and such, that there was weakness. There's times when I go really weak, and there's times when I go just a little weak. And so there is an actual physical event of weakness. And so for that, it got me into looking at different aspects. And what I came to me within an intuition and then a measured fact was that is the maintaining, again, for me it was a very inspirational moment when I found the maintaining self aspect of our universal law. And that's again what I understand the strength measurement is. It's anything that's maintaining to human beings is going to measure as strength. Anything that's non-maintaining is going to measure as weakness. And that's just kind of a general way to be able to state that. Muscle testing is used by applied kinesiologists. You go to applied kinesiology college and get trained quite intensely in that. What I understand applied kinesiology also includes is they do things where your muscle, where I believe they do the stuff where they teach you where this certain organ group is off, and so if you twist your arm like this, then this one muscle will be weak. And so there's some more details to applied kinesiology that I understand, but in basic, it's basically is measuring that truth that is strength and that weakness that is falsehood. Chiropractors use applied kinesiology or muscle testing. Physical therapists use it. Dentists use it for allergies and such. Allergy testers use it, as well as water and mineral well dowsers. Holding that little stick and finding that water under the ground is muscle testing, is what I understand. People use pendulums sometimes to make a choice, and it supposedly goes one way or the other way, and that's muscle testing. That's all that is. That's what I understand. Muscle testing is simple to learn and simple to utilize within your whole human life, and it is a science that can bring you more freedom, health, strength, and truth within your life. The steps to scientifically, accurately muscle testing universal truth. First, again, you have to seek only universal, accurate human truth. So you have to, within yourself, with your whole consciousness, you gotta only want that truth. And isn't that what we really want? Don't you really want to know what the truth of the matter is? You know, sometimes we want the truth to be a certain way, but we really want to know what the truth is so we can go on with our lives and we can get stronger from that. Second, you also have to recognize your own, again, you have to recognize your own personal areas of rigid thinking, of want, or of possible illusion, just so you can focus more on quieting those or be more aware around those. You have to also decide on an exact declared statement of fact. Again, the words really matter, and you want to make sure that there's it's worded exactly without any wiggle room. The statement, the last sentence John just said is accurate, would be a good declared statement of fact. If I just said, that is truth, well, one, what is that? And also, there's different views about what is truth. For myself, I found accurate to be a better word to use, and I'll go into that in just a moment. Another one would be universally measured human truth can unite humanity. That's an exact measured statement of fact that'll measure as strength. If you just say human truth can unite, that would have too much wiggle room. What's it going to unite? You know, what is human truth? If you say, but saying making it more clear, universal measured human truth can unite humanity. Gives it so there's no wiggle room.
So in other words, what you're saying is that when you stay very clear and you have total clarity on what it is you're testing for, then your answer will come out accurate.
Yes, and you have to have that whole conscious focus, so not only your words are accurate, but then your whole conscious has to be focused on that, so that's accurate too.
So that's half the science of this.
It
It's
is.
just getting the clarity of the question that you are asking.
Exactly, it's getting the exact words and then also getting yourself in that objective state where your consciousness is
The other half.
aligned with those exact words.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the art of it.
There you go, it's the art and the science of it. Good, what the good declared. The word accurate I have found to be better for my use generally, although I do use the word truth at times too. But within our present level of human conscious enlightenment evolution, where we are right now in our present state, it evolves and it gets better. And I believe there is deeper truth and more truth that's out there. I think there's always more truth that's out there for us humans to find and discover. And I think that this muscle testing is a part of the new truth for our age, but I believe there is more new truth that's to be learned as we evolve or as our consciousness get to the point where we can understand that better. And so the reason accurate works better, I believe, is just because it's accurate truth, whereas to say this is truth, maybe there's some truth we don't understand, and so it just, for me, it's worked better to use the word accurate. You also want to stay present. You need to stay present in your free breathing moment of the present time now. That means that where your free breath is, that's where you want your consciousness to be. That's also where you want your muscle testing to be present in. If your muscle testing a week from now, I want to do this, well, you should probably wait a week. It's okay to test some things about the future, but the reality is the future hasn't happened yet, and so it's always a little bit iffy, but so you always want to get to that point. For myself, if I'm on a walk, I don't measure should I turn up at that next corner. I wait until I get to the next corner and then I measure if I should turn up that. And lots of times, or a number of times, I've found foxes on the side of the road or something that I would just love seeing. And so those little gifts of waiting till you're in that present free breathing moment of the now. That's also a life lesson. Staying with your free breath. There's most of human, or a lot of human trauma, a lot of human upset, pain, woe, suffering is because we bring the past or the future, past upsets or future worries into our present. If you're working on them and you're actively, in a way, resolving them, you're doing it productively and you're working them through, then sure, go through the past or deal with the future. But when you're not working on them, there's times for myself, every 30 seconds, I'll have to remind myself, I don't have to think about that now. I'm not working on that now. And so staying in that free breathing present moment is a vital lesson, not only for muscle testing, but also I think for everyone. As far as getting rid of human woe, if everyone stayed in their present moment and wasn't worrying about those past upsets, instead just lived in the moment, I think that they would find a lot more greater strength and health within themselves. For myself, I have a very busy life, and if I think about what my whole week is to come, then I might be thinking, wow, that's a lot to do, and that can feel really burdensome on me. But then if I think, well, wait, right now all I got to do is eat dinner and go to sleep and, get up the next morning. Next morning I get up and I'm feeling good. And as long as I'm staying in that present moment, it works much better, and especially with muscle testing. There are things that can cause humans to test off, and they're kind of a little bit odd. Metal across the midline can make you test off, so a necklace that's metal across your midline, glasses that are metal, a big belt buckle possibly. If you have a device, an electronic device, and you're sitting that on your lap across your midline is the line down your center of your body that divides your left and your right. And so for whatever reason, those can cause you to test off. Crossing your arms, crossing your legs, I guess toes and fingers, for whatever reason that can cause you to test off. The other things that cause you to test off are a little bit more understandable. Harsh words, mean words, false words, words that are non-maintaining to human life, or not within that maintaining self nature of life. And whether it's words or music, entertainment, a show, a story, or images, whatever, those can all make you test off. Your attitude or your interactions, if you have a really harsh interaction with someone, or someone that's being really mean or rude to you, you probably aren't going to measure very good right then. But you probably know that too. Usually if you're upset in time, that's not a good time to make a good choice. Or if you do, it might be more of a reactionary choice instead of a really thought out positive choice that can make you or promote you having more strength and health within your life. Rigid thinking, want, and illusion can all make you test off, so you need to be aware of your own in those areas.
What about metal in the body?
I am not completely sure about that. I think that our bodies also, help us, to be healthy and be stronger. So I think there's ways to get around that. And I think even, I think even with metal across the midline, I think there's, anyway, I'm not sure, but I think I have hope, and I'm not exactly positive that. I haven't measured it for myself, so excuse me. You want to make sure that you have to start muscle testing, you've got to find your own way, according to your own beliefs, to balance yourself, to get yourself in that neutral, centered state, whether you're doing prayer, whether you're doing meditation, breathing, relaxation techniques, whatever it is, you have to get yourself into that state of being balanced first, where you're seeking only objective, neutral, absolute, human, universal truth. You want to position yourself, you're just going to stand, generally you could stand or sit with your arm out to your side, parallel to the ground. The other person is going to be close enough to you so they can press down on your wrist at the time when they give the predetermined signal, whatever that signal may be. I talked a little bit about calibration. So the first thing you do once you got yourself into that objective state, then you want to make sure you check your calibration. And again, a good calibration check is my name is, and then you state your name accurately and articulately. So my name is John, my name's John, my name's Fred. And you always want to check both the truth or the strength of it, and then also the falsehood and the weakness. Again, you want to be able to feel both, because there's times that you can be guided by that, and it also is reassuring, and it also lets you know that there is real truth and there is real things that are false, and you just get to really feel it. So I really recommend checking the opposite. It's also part of the scientific method of being more empirical in making sure that you're really being absolutely scientific in measuring both the strength and the weakness of the situation. You can also use a spouse's name, a child's name, a friend's name, possibly a pet's name. You can use your place of employment. Those can all be good, as long as a good calibration check is any statement that you know the absolute truth of. You just need to know that it's absolute truth. So John is wearing pants right now. John has no pants on. So anyway, it can be whatever you want that you can find that's absolute truth. And the reason you want to, again, use the calibration check to start is just because you don't want to trick yourself when you're measuring whether muscle testing can measure universal truth. If you have any doubts or questions about that in your mind, it's going to be harder to measure. So starting off by learning, by just measuring something that you can really be solid on is really helpful. There are things that I actually did not put in the handout, I realized, that you can get, I'll get from the email. But as far as recalibrating yourself, if you get off, how do you get yourself recalibrated? One of the best ways, or one of the simple ways, is by doing cross patterning, which is doing, you can go do a walk, or crawling I guess you can do, but walking. For myself, I do a lot of walking. It's neurointegration. I believe it integrates your nervous system from what I've been taught, or helps to reintegrate your nervous system so it can be in balance. And so you don't want to be holding your phone to your head. You don't want to be having your hands in your pockets. In fact, if you have a purse you got to hold, it's good to have something else in your hands so you can keep that motion even, or hold it closer to your hands so you can keep them so that they're going. Again, just a walking pattern. There's a student that I was working with at middle school, and he just, for whatever reason, he was really off one day, and he just could not actually focus at all. He was just kind of going all off, and he was just writing his answers when they were all wrong, his math answers. And all of a sudden he got up and he started marching around the room. And next thing, he could call out the answers clearly and he could speak again. I'm not sure why he was off that day, but by doing the cross patterning, again, it can help to rebalance you.
Yeah, if anyone's really interested in that subject, the book Educate Aesthetics talks all about doing that, and brain gym,
Boy.
and that right-left brain integration work.
Sounds like I need to.
Oh, it's really good stuff.
Good. There's one that I came up with, which I call the Buddha laugh. The laughing Buddha, the image of Buddha while he's laughing, just going and just, but really feeling it. You got to really feel it and do it. It can center you again. It can. Certainly breathing and relaxing and focusing on calming, praying, any of those methods can certainly help to rebalance you. Refocusing your consciousness. That's really probably one of the main ones to do first off. If you measure and you think you're testing off, go, okay, now was I really focused on the words that I declared statement of fact, or did I have any doubt in there? Was I thinking something else? Was I anticipating what the answer was going to be instead of just waiting for the answer?
I would think that would be a challenge. Already have a
It
preconceived
can-
idea of what you
it
want the
can be.
answer to be.
Yeah, and so you have to really get to that point where you can center yourself, where you really feel in yourself, all I want is truth. All I want is truth. I think if you have want, there's times when I've still measured off, even though I try to get myself in a focused place. So if you have want, you know, you may need someone else to measure that for you, or you may need to live it out or whatever. I'm not sure exactly. You gotta find that on yourself. In John Diamond's book, he also talks about the thyroid thump, which is a method where you take your fist and you hold it, and you hit yourself in the chest in a solid way. At the same time, you say "ha," and you think of a calm, relaxing thing, kind of like the Buddha laugh, where you're really getting yourself into a place where everything was good, where people would be nice to you. So it's ha, 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 and that can get you to. You do it 3 times, and that can get you to measure back on. I've used that method as well as other methods I've talked about. Again, that's in John Diamond's book, Your Body Doesn't Lie.
Yeah, I was taught to just use 2 fingers and thumb, the thyroid
Okay.
thumb.
Okay, good. And maybe I'm doing myself more than I need to, but I mean, it's a pre-cordial now.
And that can go enough like this, and that's just absolutely, when I do that with people, when they're weak, and then I will do that with them, and then do the thumping, then the muscle test strong.
There you go, yeah. And by the way, I talked about cross-patterning. If you do same-sided exercises, it'll cause you to test opposite or test weak. So you do same-sided. My name's John. My name's Fred. Anyway.
The right, left, brain, we want to
You
get
do
right, left, brain,
cross-patterning,
not.
we'll rebalance it again. My name's John. My name's Fred. Opposite checks. I mentioned those a little bit with the calibration checks. They're vital. You not only need to do the opposite checks when you're doing your calibration checks, but you also need to, so you can feel both the strength and the weakness of the situation, the truth and the falsehood of it, but you also need to do it with your declared statements of facts. So the sentence John just said is accurate, or the sentence that John just said is false, or you can use the word not, or inaccurate sometimes, or false, but you need to find some way to make that declared statement of fact. There's many times when I've been measuring, and I've measured something, and I've measured wrong, and I've gotten that, and I've only known that because then I measure the opposite, and I'll say, you know, my name's Fred, and my name's John, and it's not working right now, but okay, my name's Fred, and I work outside of California. Okay, those are both going opposite. Anyway, I guess I don't have an example right now, so excuse me for not having that prepared, but you can sometimes catch when you're off because you measure the opposite. Also, I just did a little bit of series check, and you can also add a series. So my name's John, like I work in California, like peace on earth this year soon enough is begun. I believe those are all accurate, although I didn't get myself into a truly objective state before I did make that statement, but I do believe that is all accurate. And so again, using a series is a way to check and just to double check yourself, to keep yourself within a really truly scientifically empirical method of knowing what's truth and what is falsehood, what is strength, what is weakness. Third, after you, so first you had got yourself in that place of only seeking truth, and you know your own areas of illusion. Second, you're going to check your, first you check your calibration after you get yourself in that state. Second, you're going to check your opposite. And then third, what you need to do is you need to have maintaining self-permission, is what I understand. We have to ask permission, or at least if you're getting into something deep, you always want to ask permission first. And so I have permission to teach this class. I have permission to say my name's John. I have permission to jump on the roof. So you want to get yourself, you want to ask permission. And again, it's within our universe, what I understand is within motion, we always move forward one step at a time. Those steps are either healthy and strengthening, or they're weakening and unhealthy. The healthy and strengthening steps, they teach, they're healthy and strengthening, and they prolong life because they're healthy and strengthening. The weakening and unhealthy steps, they do teach some people to do some of those things, but mostly they teach people that that's unhealthy and weakening, and they tend to kill themselves off because they're unhealthy and weakening. And so within the basic physics of human life, we always move toward this greater health, and I believe muscle testing is in that whole aspect or in that entanglement with that. And what I understand is what anything that is maintaining to life itself, freedom, maintaining life itself going on within a free way, anything that is maintaining that for all of humanity, we have permission to measure. But anyway, that's the understanding as far as what I understand as the science. So you could say that it's, if you're going to be in alignment with what has been understood to be God, then you can measure it. If you're trying to trick someone or trying to fool someone, then you won't be able to measure it, not accurately at least. It is the best for all and all the same that we're measuring for within muscle testing. Once you have your calibration check done, you checked your opposite, you've gotten your permission, then you want to make your declared statement of fact. And it has to be stated as an absolute statement of fact. My name is John. My name is Fred. My name is John. My name is Fred. So if I state this statement, you're not asking a question. Sometimes I use the word question, but you're not making a question. You're doing a declared statement of fact. You have to declare that as a statement of fact. My name is John. I am in the company store. And so you have to also focus, you have to not only have your words right, as we talked about before, but you have to have your whole consciousness focused into that declared statement of fact so that you're all aligned with it. Again, if you think that if you're doubting the statement of fact, or if you have a question about it, you're going to measure the doubt or the question instead of the statement of fact. To do the actual muscle test, all you do is after you state that declared statement of fact, the second person just signals in some way. They say hold or ready, or they nod or whatever, and then a half second to 2 seconds later, they press down on your wrist, and again, my name's John, my name's Fred. And your wrist either stays strong to that being a true statement and healthy, or it goes weak, and depending on what it is. I love Hitler. I love our president. Loving something, and I guess I just realized that anyway, I'm not positive that I'm in a completely objective state, but to state something, I want to kill someone. I want everyone to live. If it's something, I want to go home and go to sleep tonight. I don't want to go to sleep tonight. So it's something that, something that's more strongly negative or more strongly non-maintaining, it's going to measure more weakness, is what I've understood. It also depends on how your own personal state of conscious focus. If you're in a state of very strong truth, and your conscious focus is all focused on your declared statement of fact, and this declared statement of fact is strongly in truth, then you're going to measure more strongly. If your statement's more false and you're kind of wishy-washy, if your statement's false and you're still in that place of strong truth and you're still focused and consciously focused on the statement, then you're going to measure more weakness. If you're kind of only partially focused on the consciousness, or you're not in that statement of place of truth, then you might not measure this weakness quite as strongly, because it all has to balance up together. I'm hoping that makes sense. As far as, again, it's your own personality, it's a statement that you're making, and it's then your conscious focus on being aligned with that statement. So that's basically is what it is. You make that statement, the person presses down, and your arm either stays strong to the truth of it, or it goes weak to the falsehood of it. That's really basically all it is. I've already mentioned the weakness and strength aspects of it, them being variable depending on it. So in review, you want to start simple with declared statement of facts that you know the answer to, and then their opposite, just to learn it. You want to stay in that free breathing present moment where your breath is, where you're really focusing on measuring for what you want to do right then. You want to beware and be aware of your own personal illusions, your rigid thinking, or your want. You want to always measure for the greatest good, for self and for all. If you're measuring, what I found is you can't really measure, you can't accurately measure against someone else. And so you don't want to measure, against someone else, but there's maybe things that you can do that are the best for you. And so you can measure still what might be the best for you. I will say though, best is kind of a little bit of wiggle room in that word. So you gotta be somewhat knowledgeable. But if you're, you know, if you find that you can't measure, you don't have permission to measure, you know, relating to something else, you can measure just what is good for you. What's my choice that I should do for right now? And that can still be something you can measure.
That's good. You sometimes
What's
it's
the
just,
highest good?
this strengthens me, this weakens me. This strengthens me, this weakens me. That's something I use sometimes.
Good.
That's very neutral for me.
Good.
Yeah, the highest good is what I said. What
Great.
is the highest good?
Great, yeah, and for me, it's best for all and all the same, or best for all and for all the same. You should have fun and learn by it. And then other than that, see what you find for yourself and come back and teach me. Because this is a learning process and we all are human beings that can learn from this and get better. The other thing is don't just listen to me and don't believe me. Don't believe me, don't listen to me. Test me on it. Truly, test me on it. Because within life, you know, the way you really gain truth is by knowing it and having it within yourself. And if you just trust someone else always, there's going to be times when they're probably going to be off. But if you can measure it within yourself and then live it out, that can give you to that higher state of truth. I do invite you to check out my aquarium physics website, aquariumphysics.com or .org. I have a One Piece Press as part of that, and then I also have my One Piece Press blog site, which I write a daily truth message, mostly about muscle testing. You can go to any of those
What is
websites.
it, aquarium?
Aquarium, like the Aquarian Age or Age of Aquarius, the Aquarian Physics, or One Piece Press, you can get it by that. Or again, there's a button to the One Piece Press blog site. I'd love to have anyone that had any comments about any of my blog posts, if they're not making sense, or if you like them, or if you disagree, or if you just have a thought, you can put it on the blog, or you can email me or talk to me otherwise through Tanya. You can also, on my aquarium physics website, all of my aquarium physics was basically for muscle testing. I do have my simple relativity, which goes into quantum physics, and special relativity some, which just I brought into because of this. I have my muscle testing in brief is on my website. It goes into muscle testing in much more greater detail, so I recommend you checking that out. I also have my muscle testing equation, which just is kind of a thing that shows why. Anyway, I believe it proves in a more logical sense why muscle testing works. I do also have my spirit release about muscle testing of John's. I do these releases after I got rid of all these illusions in myself and got myself more balanced. I found this method where I just was able to, it really started when I was in a shower and I started having water getting on me, and somewhat similar to Rolfing. When you have Rolfing, if you have an old injury, you sometimes will get that massaged out and you'll relive this experience from how that horse stepped on your foot long ago. What I did was when I was in the shower, I started having these thoughts and words and emotions come up to me, and if I spoke them into my recorder right outside the shower, then they'd go away and I'd get through them. I started doing these single word releases, and my spirit release about muscle testing of John's is a single word release where I just would intuition one word at a time or several words at a time, and then I just keep writing, and I basically do no edits or very little edits. The only edits they're very minor and not really substantive. And it comes out to be this very poetic and very poignant message of life lesson. And again, it's just all written in pen on my journals. I do have videos about these. I show all my journal pages. I also have my heart release about God of the Alls, which gets kind of serious. Gets very serious, but that's a little bit different than, it does have muscle testing in it, but the spirit release about muscle testing John is more focused just on the muscle testing. And again, my One Piece Press blog, I really would invite you all to check. And that's basically what I have to say.
Are we gonna practice on each
Yeah,
other?
I was hoping that we could practice now and ask any questions that you
Yeah,
have too.
and then ask questions.
I wish I could stay, but I have to be at the top of Hardy Creek Mountain to pick up my son.
Oh.
Otherwise, he's got to walk 3 miles. That's a half an hour for me to get there.
Oh,
no.
Thank you so much for
Glad you
coming.
came, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
We might be able to fill you in at the
Yes.
details, and if you want me to muscle test you and practice with you later on, we can do it.
As I mentioned to you, my naturopath does muscle testing a lot.
Yeah.
And it was, I had a chiropractor before that in the mid-70s, actually. Although, you don't even know that. Here's my question. She, my naturopath, would have different nutritional supplements or whatevers, you know. and she would have me hold them here
Mm-hmm.
and just test me as to what my, whether my body was saying yes or no.
Yeah.
Basically. There weren't questions at all. It was like, hold this.
Exactly, exactly.
Or put that down, hold this one, and, till we know.
Nonverbal questions.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, it was, the question was in my hand,
exactly,
but it was always right here, you held it right here.
yeah.
Second thing was, before she would start, she would go like this on my center of my body. And then sometimes she'd go like this. What the hell is that?
That I'm not sure of, although, it sounds somewhat like Tanya.
Yeah, it's
Clear
gonna
energy.
be clearing the meridian energies.
Clearing the meridian.
And
Yeah,
what's
there's
down
a
or
way
up?
that when you go
Okay.
up, it strengthens you. And, the way I was taught, if you go up like this and you strengthen yourself, and then if you go the other direction, it actually can weaken yourself.
Yeah.
But some of it's energy work where you're
Some
just
of it's
fluffing the
energy,
auric
yeah.
energy and clearing stuff out.
Might just be clearing the space.
Well, it really, you can, like when we do the healing center.
Come
here,
to the
sometimes-
healing center and all.
Sometimes we fluff and you
Yeah.
move the energy out of the body because you're having to clear energy to get a decent message. Sometimes with people, you can't get them strengthened. You press on them and they're just weak. So you've gotta do strengthening things so that the body
It's an
remembers what it's
alignment.
like. Yeah, to be in alignment. And then, when you do that, and then you press down, and then you get it strong. And then you can trust the answers. It's a way of clearing and getting
Exactly.
to a place of neutrality within the body field, because it needed to dump. It needed to dump energy and get in a clarified place is my translation of it. But I've done that where there's people, I just can't test them until I clear the energy, and then I can test it.
Yeah, and I agree, and from Dr. Body does that cross pattern in a lot of use to help get you balanced. For myself, I've done the holding the chest, and many times that's how I learned a lot of this stuff, or how I learned muscle testing to start with. There was a time when I had a kidney infection that a bladder infection that had gone on, and I'd seen 5 different doctors about it as urinary specialists and 5 other practitioners, and they couldn't touch it. And I went and saw my Dr. Vaught, and he found this. He tested a whole bunch of things. He found this spot on my bladder where I went weak, and he had me hold all these different substances. He found this coconut extract where I went strong while I was touching that area on my bladder where we find the weakness. So that's a way of, I guess, measuring things for myself, milk products and such like that. I can't do that with my back pain, was being allergic to milk. And so, yeah, you can decide what something is, whether it's strength or truth. There's times with people, the image of Hitler or King were supposedly put into an envelope, and the person would hold that envelope, and then they'd measure either strength or weakness, depending on what was in that envelope. You can go double-blinded within muscle testing and go empirically scientific. You can take a statement, what John, what muscle testing universal truth is accurate or can happen. I'm not sure if that's the greatest declared statement of fact, but seal that in an envelope, write an opposite statement, seal that in an envelope, copy them, make 20 envelopes all blank, and then hold that in you. The statement in this envelope is accurate, the statement in the envelope is inaccurate. And then you would go strong and weakness, and you open the envelopes up and you can see what it is. If you had the people that were testing the envelopes have no idea what was in the envelopes and what was stated in that would be truly an absolutely double-blinded physical event experiment of what is strength and weakness. So you can get very empirical with muscle testing.
Yeah, we've done that in group, and people will go down and you open up, and it was some myelite, massacre picture or something.
Yeah.
Nobody knew what was in, neither did the tester.
Question on, so it sounds like you have to have an idea of exactly what you're going to state, because it's a statement, not a question. Is that right? So you're not asking, what is my next move? Because that is a question, and then you don't know what would come up. But yeah, so you're saying it has to be a statement in advance. So how would you do that if you're trying to figure out which way to go?
So I should go now, I should go later. I should go to